finding purpose after video game addiction. So I'm making this video because a super common thing that I'm hearing from a lot of guys in my DMs, people that reach out to me about quitting video games, is that they don't know where to start once they quit. And I was once in this predicament where the reason why I kept coming back to video games after I thought I had broken the addiction was that no one taught me what the fuck to do afterwards, essentially. And what I thought was the thing that was going to satisfy me once I had quit video games, once I got it, essentially. So I was working, remotely from home. I had a 6-figure tech job out of college. I had great relationships, buzzing social life. I was doing all these things that were supposed to make me happy and keep me off the games because they were the proverbial promised land. And I still found myself coming back to games. So in part, I'm going to address that in this video. There's also something that I call the vicious cycle of avoidance, which is essentially this process where you have a moment of clarity that I think a lot of us have while we're gaming, where we catch ourselves, we wake up, become self-aware, and we're like, what the heck am I even doing? Why am I playing this? Like, is this actually as fun as I think it is in my mind? So you stop, maybe, perhaps, for a little bit. But then all this stuff comes up, right? There's the boredom, there's the uncertainty. You don't know what the heck to do afterwards. And even if you have some kind of, modicum of clarity or an inkling of inspiration about which direction to send your life in now, it's not like a video game where all the quests are laid out for you. You know exactly what to do. Someone's made a player's guide on it. And that becomes really difficult, learning how to, navigate life on your own. And then there's the fear of failure, fear of looking like an idiot, fear of, what if this doesn't work out, fear, all kinds of fear. Unfelt emotions and traumas, things that you were avoiding by playing video games because they were your safe space, right? Limiting beliefs, this is a huge one because the reason why a lot of gamers can't stay off the games when they try to tackle their real lives with any sort of, any sense of vitality, any semblance of vitality, is because of certain ways that they view the world that are hamstringing them. And then on top of all of that, there's this limited sense of options to choose from when it comes to how to play the game of real life. And this is part of the reason why I kept coming back to video games as well, because my understanding of life was go to school, get into a good school, get really good grades, get good internships, get a job, and then I don't know what happens, make money, be happy. But I got there and I was like, is this it? And so that's just my example, that's my story, but I think it's true on average for a lot of gamers that they don't know what they don't know. I mean, this is a universal human thing, but part of the reason why it's so easy to fall back into video games is because you've kind of set an impossibly high bar for yourself that you're now kind of doomed in a way to strive to meet in your real life, right? When you're able to game 12, 16 hours a day and feel the rush and the thrill and the excitement and the immersion in something that you can devote yourself to like that, on top of the beauty of the game, like when I was playing World of Warcraft, defeating the Lich King or clearing Naxxramas with my guild, and just all of like that, and then you try to do something in your real life, the normal path, what you're supposed to do, like working in a cubicle or getting other hobbies. It's like that it just doesn't cut it. On top of the fact that a lot of the people who play video games addictively, like myself, are what I call the obsessive. It's like if you imagine that in real life there are different class types in the game of life. One of them that I've described in a TikTok that I uploaded, I've uploaded it a couple of times in different formats, and it's resonated with a lot of people to the point where they're like, dude, how did you read my mind? Like, are you watching me from outside my window? Is about this obsessive class and how it's misunderstood, and they don't know how to use their class kit in real life because no one teaches you. If anything, it tries to people try to suppress it. They try to put you on ADHD meds and all that stuff. So anyway, part of that, I say that to also get to the point that, in a sense, regardless of whether or not video games had set this high bar for you that you're now forced to meet in your real life if you want to experience a similar level of joy and satisfaction, there is something about the personality of many obsessive, addictive gamers that would have forced them to live a more like thrilling, on the edge type of life instead. So all these things come up, right? You have your moment of clarity. What the heck am I even doing? You stop gaming for a bit. Real life hits you like a 10-ton hammer in a myriad of different ways that are also unique to each individual. And eventually you just start gaming again to forget about it because it's just too much. It's too much. And this cycle can repeat itself on and on and on, over and over again for years potentially. And so the aim of this video is to help you break that cycle once and for all. And it's not necessarily it's going to be quite simple. It's not necessarily going to be easy. And there are a lot of blanks that I can't fill in for you because it is a very deeply personal thing. But I'm going to give you as much clarity and guidance as possible so that at the very least you know how to set off and start, right? And I probably should have said this at the beginning of the video, but the people that this is for, so if you're addicted to video games and you know you want to quit, but you get stuck every time, like me, you've maybe relapsed multiple times, you don't know what to do without video games in your life. And then also, if you've already quit video games, this is something that I hear from a lot of guys as well, that they've quit video games, they don't game as much as they used to, but something still feels missing. Something still feels missing, or like they still look back wistfully and nostalgically on their time gaming. They know that they can't really do that anymore, but nothing has come close since. And so they're still not really finding something or finding a way to show up to their real lives that provides them with anything remotely close to the joy that they felt while gaming. And that's a problem to solve. I mean, on the one hand, because it could inevitably lead to relapse, but also on the other hand, it's like, well, and this is part of the reason, this is part of my, it's a bone that I guess I had to pick with the way that people were approaching video game addiction when I first started doing this. And when I was going through it myself, which is like, a lot of the proposed solutions to video games were just like, yeah, quit gaming and then get a hobby, start fucking fly fishing and working out and all this stuff. And I think that's definitely important, but it kind of totally misses the point, because to me, it doesn't make sense. This is just my personality, perhaps my view of the world, but it doesn't make sense to go from gaming, high octane, just maximum vitality, riding the tiger, to neutering yourself essentially in real life and settling for like a very, humdrum existence. And I think that's also part of the reason why, I have to make this video in the first place, because it keeps people coming back. So additionally, if you made it this far and you're a gamer with no intention to quit video games, but you want a fresh perspective on what life could look like beyond video games, then this video is also for you. And if you want to follow me on TikTok or Instagram, here are my handles. Okay, so we're going to address multiple layers to the game of life and finding purpose after video game addiction. The first layer is going to be the stuff that is kind of just foundational, kind of obvious, but still the cornerstone of building an exceptional life and living an exceptional life. And then layer two, I think, is actually the secret sauce that no one is talking about, that most, if not everyone, is missing right now, at least in this space. It is kind of the missing link. So layer one, we're going to talk about health, wealth, and relationships, right? These are kind of the bread and butter of what you go into living an awesome life. We start with health because health is everything. When I'm not working out, when I'm not on top of my health, I'm a different person, personally. And it's just a way that it affects your nervous system and calms you down when you lift heavy weight. Also understanding that energy is everything. So a lot of the problems that people have in real life, whether it's health issues or even like mental health issues, and the things that they often pathologize into like greater problems than they actually are, really just come from a lack of energy. So like when you don't have good energy levels because your health is in a rut, then you're going to take what would otherwise be, very trivial things and explode them into giant, dramatic, things that you're going to think, or you're going to be in this constant loop of blowing tiny things up, when really it's just an energy issue and a health issue. And the thing about this as well, which partially explains, this is going to sound a bit contradictory or paradoxical, but I'm going to encourage you or invite you to entertain, two seemingly opposite ideas at the same time. Energy is something that you get more of, like by expending energy. So there's a reason why when we're playing video games and we're constantly tapping the keyboard and we're engaged with something, like really, intently, that we can have more energy than we do when we're doing like mundane, trivial, rote things in real life. And we can play video games for hours and hours and hours at a time. And part of that is because you get more energy counterintuitively by spending energy. That's also going to be important when we talk about like the importance of purpose and what it really means to live with vitality, because, but we're going to get there. Okay, so second thing, wealth, right? This should be a universal, I personally think it should be a universally agreed upon thing that money is good if you're a good person, and if you're a good person, you arguably have a moral obligation to make money so you can actually have leverage with which to be good and to do good things in the world. And at the very minimum, if you're not in a position financially where you can do absolutely whatever you want and you can provide, for your loved ones, and you have, money saved away for a rainy day, for the next, geopolitical fucking cataclysm that happens, because there's always going to be something. There's always going to be a recession. Something, shit's gonna hit the fan in some way. Are you prepared? And are you in a position where you can do whatever you want? You've truly bought your time back, and you're not selling your time anymore. The thing about this is that I've noticed from making content on, I guess, success in, like, as it pertains to gaming and extrapolating certain gaming principles to living a successful life, an extraordinary life, that a lot of gamers have really bad beliefs, really, really terrible limiting beliefs around money and around wealth. So the thing about this is that if you judge someone for something, or if you judge something in a certain way, then that's also a judgment of self. So if your view of the world is that anyone who has money has had to have come from money, or they had an unfair advantage, and it's not an even playing field, and that if you make money, it has to be at the expense of other people, right? If you think money is a zero-sum game and that everyone who has money is evil and bad, then you're never going to allow yourself to experience the wealth and the freedom that you kind of secretly crave, that you say would improve your situation if you had it, that would solve all of your problems and make you happy. So part of this really is, first of all, before you even focus on wealth, is taking a really honest look at yourself and relinquishing the victim mindset. And that's not to say that whatever hand you've been dealt in life doesn't matter, that your problems, don't matter. Whatever struggles you've gone through are totally valid. I'm not trying to trivialize them, but just understand that there's a difference between being happy and being right. Okay, so if to you it's more important to be right about, if you have a worldview like this in the first place, because maybe you don't, right? In which case, we'll get to the next part of the video pretty soon, right? But if you have a worldview like this, where the world is cruel and unfair, money and success are a zero-sum game, you always win at the expense of another person, and it's impossible to truly build money while being a good person by doing good for the world, then you're going to you're limiting yourself with that, because you're never going to allow yourself to make money if the whole thing is wrapped up in so much evil. So that's something to consider. But there's nothing wrong at all with making money. There's being free, and you can do it by serving other people and aligning your money-making vehicle with who you are and what your natural strengths and talents are, which we're going to discuss more. So it can be a win-win situation. It doesn't need to be gloom and doom, work to live, which there's some nuance there as well. But essentially, if you're not in a position where you are financially free, then you probably don't have any business worrying about anything else, rampantly entertaining. But maybe that's not your goal, right? Maybe you're okay. If you're truly okay with where you're at, you have absolutely zero complaints about anything regarding your situation financially, then, more power to you. Third part of layer 1 is relationships. And this is the best part of the game. The best part of playing any game. I used to play MMORPGs, right? The best part of playing any game is the people that you play with. If I played World of Warcraft in a vacuum by myself, it was a single player game, that would have been boring. And even if you're an introvert, having relationships is important. Having not just relationships, but deep, meaningful relationships, rich relationships with people that are on the same wavelength as you, that have a like-minded view of the world, that you can truly confide in and rely on and share this beautiful experience with. And so these are not things that you do. Okay, so time out. So all of these kind of go hand in hand, right? Now, if you just focus on the money part and you go money, 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 you eventually get rich, but your health is going to be in shambles, and your relationships aren't going to look great. And all the skills and the character traits and the qualities and the growth that you would have otherwise experienced by having relationships and having like relationship experiences on the path to wealth, like you won't have had them. And so it's possible, as I guess some people have put it, to be rich and to still be a dork, and you don't want that. So understand that, yes, there are seasons to life where like maybe it makes sense to you to just go really, really ham on your finances and your career for now, right? But understanding like that you don't want to constrict yourself or force yourself to wait until you reach some, promised land, or rather some next place where you can finally start actually, living your life. This also kind of plays into vitality as a lifestyle, which we'll get to. But health is foundational. Health, in this sense, is also, something that you can pull from when you need to go hard, right? If you work out a ton, if you eat really well, you're going to be more resilient and more, just capable for putting in the hours and grinding. Now, let's get to layer 2 for a second. Layer 2 is, again, what I consider to be the secret sauce that a lot of gamers, all gamers are missing, especially like as it pertains to video game addiction. You might call this like the esoteric, but not quite. So when I say that life is a spiritual video game, I don't mean crystals and woo-woo magic and all of that. I basically just mean that life is, if you think about it, this giant sandbox playground, like learning environment that we all land on, and each of us is entirely unique. There's only one of you. There will only ever be one of you. There's no one like you. There never will be after you. And we each have a unique set of gifts and talents, and also a unique personality and a unique predisposition towards certain things. Things that we're each drawn to things that we didn't choose. You know what I mean? And so when I say that life is a spiritual video game, it's about understanding that once upon a time you were kind of a little kid before the world programmed you and taught you the right way to live and taught you what the real world entails. And it was in this, childlike state that you already knew, like the back of your hand, what was important to you, what mattered to you, what was meaningful to you, and who you were, essentially, before the world kind of fucked it up. So layer 2 is all about coming back home to who you actually are, and actually taking it a step further than that, fully realizing who you actually are. If we imagine who you actually are not as this superhero that's locked away in a block of marble that you haven't chiseled out yet, but the whole purpose of life is for you to become him, right? That's who you were always meant to be. And it's travesty that the vast majority of people never get to experience that, because that is really, that is the end in itself of life. It's not, and when I say reaching your full potential, I don't just mean making a ton of money or accumulating all these material possessions or getting like the trophy wife or any of that. I mean truly like becoming more and more of who you are, becoming more familiar with the things that you are uniquely called to, and living them out. It's like each of us has this unwritten epic story, this pre-written epic story that we each simply have to act out. And obviously it's not a cakewalk, which is part of the reason why I can't in good faith tell you that this is the way that you should live. Rather, I can only tell you that I think that this is what you're missing if you've quit video games a ton of times and you keep coming back and you still feel like something is missing in your real life, but you're not sure what it is. This is it. It's the hero's journey, which is really interesting to think about because, when you look at a lot of the video games that we play, for me it was World of Warcraft, we unwittingly, in many cases, without even knowing it, simulate the hero's journey while we're playing these video games, right? For in World of Warcraft, you start level 1, you're totally, fresh in the world, you have no power, you have nothing, and you go on this adventure of building your character up and going on all these quests. You meet other players while you're doing it. You have some of the most memorable moments of your life. You work together, and it's a very intimate, meaningful process. And also the fact that a lot of these video games that we play are video games of great men, essentially, warriors and conquerors and heroes that we look up to and kind of live vicariously through when we're playing the video games. Why is that? Could it be that it's because that's giving us a sense of the self-actualization and the self-realization that we're missing in our real lives that we'd otherwise be forced to go through by embarking on our own hero's journey in the real world. And when I say hero's journey, I don't mean that you need to go become Lawrence of Arabia or become Genghis Khan and go be like a hero in a military sense or anything like that. To be a hero, to be your own heroes, to be the hero of that little kid that still lives inside of you, that had hopes and dreams once upon a time, that saw the beauty and the wonder of the world and was easily, naturally attuned to it and in sync with it, but somehow forgot about the way through the struggles and the traumas of the world, right? So it's being your own hero is becoming who you really are, which, as Jung puts it, is the privilege of a lifetime. The thing about this is that it requires you to cultivate self-reliance. So, we don't like uncertainty. We really, really don't like uncertainty. It evokes all kinds of fear. It's very, we often regress to whatever's most comfortable and whatever provides us with a sense of security, a sense of okay, I just need to do this and I'm straight, right? So what you'll find when you start truly trying to, if you truly decide that you want to live life on your own terms, is that there's a responsibility with that. Freedom, beyond just in a financial sense, is a responsibility, because freedom means that you have to decide for yourself in every moment of every day how to live your life. And that can be a lot for some people, myself included, especially, even months into, a year and a half into this entrepreneurial journey, this mission-based journey, helping dudes quit video games, I still catch what I think it's Kierkegaard calls the dizziness of freedom, right? Whenever you feel anxiety, he calls it the dizziness of freedom. And it's because you have to, you have to truly learn how to have a set of values and stand for something and be somebody instead of having all that stuff told to you. But that is also an end in itself. In fact, it's the sweetest reward because no one can take that away from you, right? You can make all the money in the world. Everything, material comes and goes, right? But if someone took everything away from you, they still wouldn't be able to take away who you are, who you've become. And that's really what this is about. And it's the reason why all this stuff, even though I put them in two distinct layers, is really interwoven. Because, we'll get into that when we talk about what it looks like in practice. But imagine a world in which, you're maxing out your health, you're making a ton of money, and you're ideally doing it in a way that allows you to use your natural strengths and talents and to serve people in a way that's exciting and interesting to you, that you're passionate about, right? It doesn't need to be passionate, right? And let's take a step back there too, because regarding this stuff, people don't know necessarily where to start. Is it a business? Is it a side hustle? Is it learning a certain income generating skill? Should you follow your passion and your purpose and all of that? I think that the answer is you don't need to have, first of all, it's your life to live, but you don't need to have a sense of purpose that's like Elon Musk level, where you're going to save the world and you're going to build rocket ships and stuff. Your purpose, which is created, it's not found. It's not something that you will eventually find the right answer to. On the one hand, can be just for now, build a life of more freedom so you can live on your own terms, do whatever the heck you want, and provide more for your family and have certain experiences that you don't have access to right now. But I'm inviting you to entertain the idea that if you just spend a little bit of time thinking and studying yourself and kind of talking to that little kid inside of you again and re-tapping back into your inner voice, your intuition, you will get at least some kind of a clue as to which direction you should set off in, that is in line with your interests and your natural excitement, the things that you're already good at, the things that come easily to you, but that other people struggle with. For me, it's public speaking and writing and thinking and talking to people and helping them. So there's a reason why I'm not a mechanical engineer, and I don't. And the thing about that as well is that you're not going to know exactly how it's going to turn out from the beginning. It's not, and that's the most beautiful part about it. Because if you already knew all the answers, if you already knew exactly how the journey was going to play out, that'd be boring. But when you allow yourself, and that's the thing as well. So a lot of people's conception of happiness, and a lot of people's idea of happiness is control. What I mean by that is, as soon as something does not go according to plan in their lives, which newsflash is never, because nothing will ever go according to plan, like they equate that with failure, with sadness, with misery. But part of this is leaning into the uncertainty and the unknown as a beautiful place, as leaning into chaos as the place from which order is born. It's like the natural, it's like creative soup of the universe that we pull everything from. So all this to say, if you don't know where to start improving your financial situation, but you want to do it in a way that serves other people by doing something that you care about, that maybe you're already like naturally good at or predisposed to, that you can stick with for a long time, don't stay in the waiting place of I don't know what the perfect thing is, and I don't want to choose the wrong thing. I want to choose the absolute best thing for me. There is not a best thing. And chances, the only way for you to find the closest thing to that best thing is for you to just start. Because maybe the first business leads to the second one, leads to the third one, leads to the fourth one. The fourth one is like the one that you absolutely love that you do for the next 40 years. But you won't get there until you do all the ones before it. The path reveals itself as you walk it. You just want to spend some time figuring out which direction you feel most confident in setting off in, and then do it. Understanding that it's also not a binding decision. It's not going to define you. The business that you start, the next the next money-making endeavor that you pursue is not going to define you. It's not going to be the end-all, be-all of your life. It's just a business. And if you want to, you can change your mind afterward. Now, that's a fear that a lot of people have, is like, oh, well, then I'm going to have wasted my time for nothing. That never happens. Because even if you choose the, quote, wrong thing, you'll still be learning skills and working on yourself in a way that goes beyond just the skills as well. Right? And this goes back to the idea of life as a spiritual video game. So we talked about on the last slide, like all these things that people kind of come up against and just explode against in real life, which are the things like managing their emotions, just riding the highs and the lows, dealing with the uncertainty, being able to be self-reliant, feeling all the unfelt feelings that they've been avoiding and running from by playing video games, or obsessing, or escaping into anything else, Netflix, TV, just the mundanity, the routine of life up until now, right? All those things are things that you're going to have to work through on this journey, regardless of which specific like money-making vehicle that you choose. But you can't start learning them without you actually living it. Like you can lock yourself in a room with all the self-help books, all of the spirituality, metaphysical books in the world for 5 years, and spend all of your time studying and thinking and mastering like the theory, but it won't be until you get out there and actually apply it that it'll count for anything, that you'll truly integrate it. So I say that so that you feel more comfortable by just picking something and starting, understanding that there's literally the idea of a waste of time is BS. It's an illusion. Nothing is a waste. No hard work is ever wasted. And the sooner that you start, the sooner that you get to start working on yourself, which is really the thing that's going to unlock success for you in any endeavor. Because if you think about it as well, like the instructions to making money are out there on the internet with all kinds of different methods. Sales, copywriting, e-com, whatever. What separates the people who succeed at that stuff from people who don't isn't a discrepancy of information, although to some extent it is, right? In some cases it is. But what it mostly is who's playing the game. Like it's the person. It's the person behind the monitor in life, right? So understanding that, and then also understanding that you can't learn these lessons until you're actually in the arena. And nothing is, a binding decision. Everything's a two-way decision. But yeah, so going back to individuation of the hero's journey. So Carl Jung calls this process of becoming who you really are, which is the privilege of a lifetime, individuation. And the hero's journey, we talked a bit about that. It's this idea of going after what your heart's true calling is, which you may not, I want to repeat this because it's really important. You may not know exactly what that is, and you're not supposed to. Like not even with this business that I'm running, right? I don't personally think that this is going to be the conclusive like end all be all of my life. It might be the project that I work on forever and just go deeper and deeper on, but there are aspects of my mission that I don't even know about yet, and like ways that it's going to express itself that I can't foresee. But the best thing that I can do is just pick a way to express it and like work on it and just keep going. So let's talk about vitality. And also, just real quick as well, when I say that life is a spiritual video game, I also mean that you are like, you're in a game where the point of the game is to learn and to grow and to go through all these experiences and to enjoy them just for the sake of having the experience, but also to like become a quote better version of yourself. Like working through all the unfelt emotions, dealing with all the traumas, like learning how to more peacefully navigate life, undergoing things that at the time seem cataclysmic and earth-shattering and life-ending that you can look back on in 5 or 10 years and be like, dude, that's nothing to me. You know what I mean? And that's the game. And again, I can't tell you in good faith that you should live like this, because it's hard, and you can't engineer that out of the game. It's what makes the highs so sweet, is the lows and the adversity and the fact that you have to earn this stuff through like blood and sweat and tears. In a non-hard work sense, in a self-development, it's like you and the man in the mirror type of way. But so one of my favorite video games ever was Final Fantasy XIV MMORPG, and in that game, the protagonist, like, you are called the Warrior of Light. They refer to you as the Warrior of Light, and that always stuck with me because it's a perfect description of what each of us is in real life. So a lot of people want to get conspiratorial about all these, nefarious parties in the world trying to exact their agendas on us, the unwitting sheeple, right? But I'm going to encourage you to not even entertain any of that stuff and focus more on the fact that this battle, this real life battle between light and dark, is happening within you. It's happening within you. It's a battle within your own consciousness. And the way that you save the world really is by saving yourself. It's by overcoming all of your fears, all of your limiting beliefs, transcending the person that you currently are, becoming more of who you really are, and this is why life is not a zero-sum game. It's why, the more of you that you become, the more in tune with it you become, the better you become at wielding, your gifts and your personality. That's, also a win for the world, because that's exactly what the world needs. The world needs people who are self-reliant, who have undergone the hero's journey, and learned how to be true to themselves again and unlock their full potential, right? So focus on that. And that is the highest reward. When we talk about vitality as a lifestyle, I love this quote by Joseph Campbell. If you want the whole thing, the gods will give it to you, but you must be ready for it. The goal is to live with godlike composure on the full rush of energy, like Dionysus riding the leopard, without being torn to pieces. And the way that I interpret this is that something else you'll find, I think, when you start living on the edge, so to speak, you start practicing self-reliance and truly grabbing life by the fucking steering wheel and driving it, is that it's not... It wakes you up really quickly, gives you a really powerful reality check regarding what you actually want versus what you think that you want versus what you say that you want. So living a certain lifestyle, living at a certain intensity where the rewards seem greater than what you're currently experiencing in your life right now is not for the faint of heart. It demands you to show up in a fundamentally different way. And so you could get, I think this is also part of the reason why lottery winners go broke so often and people often regress to who they are, even if their external circumstances change on a dime, because they can't sustain that life. It's just not, it's not who they are, and it's not something that they're ready for. But I also, when I talk about vitality as a lifestyle, I also mean to say that this is the highest ROI that you can get out of your life is by learning how to squeeze as much juice as possible out of the only thing that you ever have, which is now, right? It's the present moment. And so even if you have all of the money, you have good relationships, your health is straight, if you're not truly like there with your life and you're not living it to the max, and by to the max, I just mean in every moment, are you using it as an opportunity to become more enthusiastic, more full of life, more fucking voracious, and attacking life, not attacking it, but embracing it with zest, with joy, with fucking wonder and awe, with gratitude. Right? That is the single most like impactfully defining thing about your life. And so this is also what I think a lot of people don't get when I talk about quitting video games and breaking video game addiction. They're just like, oh, what? So I can work all the time and make money and this, that. I'm happy as I am now. But it's bigger than that, man. It's like a gift that you give to yourself by truly seizing every moment for all it's worth, by showing up to every moment in full like appreciation for how miraculous it is that you're even alive to begin with. Because there are two people can be in the exact same situation, and one of them is totally zoned out or doesn't see the beauty and the splendor of it, and the other one is so geeked out in the present moment and just enraptured by life that they're having one is having an experience of hell and the other is having an experience of heaven in the exact same place. And I think that this is, if I had to pin what this is about on like anything in this video, it's this. It's vitality as a lifestyle. It's showing up to your life just fucking with bear hugging it for all it's worth. And that's not a one and done thing. It is a practice. And as with a lot of these things in layer 2, like they're all practices. When you learn how to view your life as a constant opportunity for becoming wiser, stronger, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, where everything that triggers you is an invitation for you to inquire about it and be like, that's a vulnerability. Like that's something that has control or power over me. Let me study that. Let me investigate that. Let me like figure out what that's trying to teach me. All while savoring every moment as much as possible and like living full throttle as much as you can. That's something that I wanted to get around to as well. Because I talk about health and how energy is everything. And having your health dialed in literally makes you a different person. But the thing that's most important for your health, and it's the reason why, there's a reason why I was able to play World of Warcraft for 12, 16, 18 hours a day, all-nighters sometimes, running mostly on like caffeine and one meal a day, never leaving my room, never getting sunlight. And I arguably had more energy during that time in my life than I did when I stopped gaming and I was optimizing every aspect of my health. I was working out, I was eating well, I was taking naps, I was getting sun, I was meditating, I was all of that. Because what I didn't have in that latter situation was the same sense of like purpose and drive. I didn't have a mission. Right? I didn't have something that woke me up in the morning the way that the video game did. I didn't feel like I was truly flooring the gas pedal in my life. And so the most important thing you'll find for your health that can come at the expense of your physical health and still leave you off healthier in the long run is having a mission, having something to wake up for, showing up to your life with vitality. And vitality is not just a physical thing. It's really a spiritual thing. It's something that comes from your heart, right? So keep that in mind. I brought that up because it's something that, it might be the biggest thing that ex-gamers are missing. And until you have that thing that wakes you up in the morning, that enlivens you to the point where you can pull an all-nighter just working on the thing or doing the thing or without eating, without sleeping, you're gonna be craving that silently and finding it. Like, first of all, you're probably not gonna be aware of it if you don't watch this video, and then second of all, you're gonna be trying to find it in addictions, in video games, in doom scrolling, in Netflix, in hitting the bar with your friends, and doing the same thing for decades and not really thinking about your life or where it's going. Because you're craving more. You're craving something that's going to make your soul dance, make your heart sing. And anything that you use to try to avoid that or to like displace that longing is always going to fall short, whether it's video games or anything else. So to wrap this up, in practice, what this looks like, if you tie all these pieces together, because it's not this one and then that one, or it's not this and then that, right? Or this and then that. It's doing your best to max your physical health. Exercising, walking, like just making movement a lifestyle, eating the right foods, sleeping, dialing your health in. Also understanding that this is not, health is a tool, like it's something to be used as well. It's kind of like a currency. And I think that's homage to brute force on Twitter, right? It's something that you pull from. It's not like, you don't want to just be healthy and optimize your health so that you can like sit in a room all day and be healthy in the room. Like you want to use it, and it feeds into the vitality, right? So making money by serving others, which even if you're not in a money-making vehicle right now that you totally jive with, it can be something that, ideally in the long run, it's something that allows you to make money by serving others simply by virtue of being yourself and by tapping into the things that already come naturally to you. That's kind of that's the peak, right? When you can just be you and do the things that feel like breathing and provide value to other people and get value in return. And it's almost effortless, and you've built systems and stuff to do it at scale. Or perhaps you've checked out of the game entirely because you've made enough money and you have enough freedom where you don't need to do anything to make money right now besides manage your investments and all of that. But at the end of the day, you're still going to want to have some kind of purpose, right? You're still going to be individuating, going on the hero's journey so that you actually have someone to wake up for in the morning. Deep, rich relationships, obvious. Conquering your demons. We talked about how life is a spiritual video game. Unraveling your purpose, putting one foot in front of the other, not knowing where the heck it's going to lead you, but being excited about it and embracing the unknown, because that's where all the good stuff is. Opening is love, growing stronger mentally, emotionally, spiritually, while you're embarking on this quest. Opening as love, like letting go of all the resentments and the things in your past that fucking haunt you, and just expanding more and more internally to the point where you're reaching more equanimity and peace in your life, and living with maximum vitality in every single moment. So that's the overview of the game of life. If at this point you're still like, yeah, but where do I start? Like, what do I do about this? Just pick something. Just pick something and start and see it through and understand it's going to test you in ways and cultivate certain qualities within you, like persistence, like faith, like patience, like emotional regulation, etc., that you're going to have to cultivate anyway if you want to succeed at whatever it is, whether it's the current opportunity that you're pursuing or something else. So just pick something and start, and let the thing bring that, develop those characteristics within you, and you'll figure it out. I know that may not be a satisfying answer, but it's the only true accurate one. So, hope this helped. If you have any questions, comment them below. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok, and DM me on Instagram if you want a free training on how to overcome video game addiction. I will send it to you. If you want more content on a particular idea, also leave that in the comments, and I'll see what I can do. Peace.